You're about to install a Brivo Door Station, our all-in-one solution for access, intercom calls, and visitor check-ins. In this video, we'll walk you through the technical installation process so you can get it up and running smoothly. Before you begin installation, make sure you've connected with the customer's IT team. They understand their IT system best and can help you set up the network requirements for the Brivo Door Station. This is crucial, as the Brivo Door Station depends on a stable network connection for features like live video and intercom. Make sure the IT rep is available during your install and review the site's network settings ahead of time. You'll also want to confirm ports and IP addresses. Up next, hit the pause button to examine the ports and IP addresses that the Brivo Door Station needs to connect. Check out the resources in the description for more information on the Brivo Door Station's ports and IPs. Let's go over the hardware you need for a Brivo Door Station installation. To function properly, the Brivo Door Station will need the following: a Brivo control panel that it can connect to, and two cables, a Cat6 cable, which connects the Brivo Door Station to a Power over Ethernet or PoE switch that has internet access, and an OSDP reader cable, which connects the Brivo Door Station to the Brivo control panel. First, you'll need to power up the Brivo Door Station. Using your Cat6 cable, connect the Brivo Door Station to a PoE port. You should see the LED flash blue as it boots, and then green once it's online and ready. You'll also hear a beep. Now that your Brivo Door Station is powered up, let's move on to wiring. We'll start with the OSDP reader cable. On the back of the Brivo Door Station, you'll find wires labeled RS485 and ground. There are many other wires, but we won't use them for this installation. RxD Plus or D Plus is orange and white, while RxD Minus or D Minus is green and white. For the ground, both ground wires should be used for a reliable connection. The Brivo Door Station works with Brivo's ACS 300, 6000 MBE, 6100 dB, and SDC panels. Your control panel needs to be on firmware version 6.2510 or higher to support the Brivo Door Station. Here are two tips for wiring. If you're wiring into an ACS 6000 MBE panel, double-check the dip switches. Switches 10 and 11 should be flipped up to the RS485 position. For both the ACS 6000 MBE and the ACS 300, set the reader port to half duplex and disable either of the two RS485 end-of-line switches. Those are the small blue switches on the board. Now that you have the wires and panel ready, it's time to program the Brivo Door Station to the panel. The Brivo Door Station can be programmed just like a regular reader. Leave the Bluetooth ID blank for now and set the node type to OSDP. You can leave it at the default address 0 if you're just programming one Brivo Door Station. Using the OSDP reader cable, connect the Brivo Door Station to the panel's reader node, and the Bluetooth ID should automatically populate after you refresh the page. If it doesn't, it means that your Brivo Door Station's OSDP connectivity is not working, so you may have to confirm that in the next few steps. For now, just enter the Bluetooth ID manually. Grab the serial number from the back of the unit. Don't enter the DU7 part of the number, just enter the numbers that follow. The final number should be 10 digits long. Before moving on, you'll need to double-check that the control panel and the Brivo Door Station are communicating with each other properly using OSDP. Assuming you've connected the Brivo Door Station directly to your laptop, log in to the panel web CLI. Go to the Hardware tab, then the OSDP Tool tab. Here, select Scan Now to see if the Brivo Door Station is detectable by OSDP. You'll want to make sure the PD address and baud rate match what's set in Brivo Access. The default baud rate is 9600. If you don't see the Brivo Door Station detected, double-check your wiring and OSDP termination. Another way to confirm the Brivo Door Station's information and OSDP connectivity status is by going to the Hardware tab, then to Upgrade Reader Firmware. On this page, we won't actually upgrade the reader firmware. Instead, we'll use it to check important connectivity details, such as the Brivo Door Station's IP address, serial number, and firmware version. Another important detail to check here is the JWT status. That's the secure token that confirms the Brivo Door Station is connected to the Brivo Cloud. It should say valid. If the Brivo Door Station is using DHCP and the JWT status is valid, you're all set. You can skip network configuration in the next step. But if you need to set a static IP or other network settings, continue to the next step to double-check that the Brivo Door Station can reach the cloud. To confirm whether the Brivo Door Station is talking to the cloud, first, check that it's powered. Remember, you should hear a beep and see a green flash when it's booted up. After that, connect to the Web UI interface by entering the Brivo Door Station's IP address into your browser. You can find the IP in a few ways. Your first option is to find it from the Brivo Door Station's Web CLI logs. As you can see on the right, the IP address can be found in the Upgrade Reader Firmware page under the Hardware tab. Option 2 is to ask IT to look it up using the MAC address, which starts with 001D00. The final option is to isolate the Brivo Door Station on a switch and set the IP of the discovering device to 169.254.172. Then, you can connect to the Brivo Door Station using the IP 169.254.171. Remember to type https:// before the IP address. Once you've located your Brivo Door Station's IP address, you can log in using the username, administrator, and the password, BDS5CLI. When you log in, remember to change the password to something unique and more secure. After you've logged in, go to the Network tab. Then, set static or DHCP as needed. To set a static IP address, simply toggle the switch under Enable DHCP to off. For the DNS, either of the two numbers shown work great. Once you've inputted the DNS, reconnect the Brivo Door Station to the target network. Now, you need to verify cloud connection. In Brivo Access, check that reader and network status are online. If the Brivo Door Station still does not have OSDP connectivity, pause here for a few troubleshooting steps you can take. Now that your Brivo Door Station is online, let's make sure there are no issues. First, we'll check the firmware. In the Web UI, check the Status tab. Make sure the Brivo Door Station's firmware is version 1007 or higher. If not, reach out to Brivo support to update it. Next, click the Troubleshooting Tool tab. Here, you'll need to run 3 tests. The first is to check that the Brivo Door Station can connect to Brivo servers. This test can be run by clicking the Start button under the Brivo Server Connectivity section and the Start button under the OSDP section. The second test is to make sure the video and intercom features work. In the Brivo Door Station's Web UI, go to the Video Service and WebRTC section and click Start. This runs a quick check to confirm that live video and intercom are up and running, and just as important, that the Brivo Door Station can get through the site's firewall. If you're running into problems, it might be a DNS issue. Sometimes, even if you set a reliable DNS yourself, DHCP can automatically override it when the lease renews. To fix it, set a static IP with your DNS, or just restart the Brivo Door Station after the DHCP renews. The final test is to check recent WebRTC connections. In the Troubleshooting tool, scroll down to WebRTC Recent Connections and select Refresh. This shows how many intercom or video calls were attempted, how many succeeded, and if any failed, which is useful for spotting firewall or device issues. Here are some final tips for using the Web UI. If the tests don't work properly, then run them again. If there are still problems, it could be a permissions issue, like the browser not having microphone access, or the device not supporting video playback. If you're seeing repeated failures, double-check for firewall rules, block UDP traffic, or DNS delays. As mentioned earlier, you can find more information on configuring ports and IP addresses in the link in the description. Once everything is functioning and WebRTC is stable, your Brivo Door Station installation is complete. Let's recap what we've covered in this video. We've connected the Brivo Door Station to a control panel, made sure OSDP connectivity was working, configured the network so the Brivo Door Station can communicate with the Brivo Cloud, and troubleshooted the Brivo Door Station in WebUI. Follow these steps, and you've got a Brivo Door Station that's ready for testing. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check out our video on testing and managing the Brivo Door Station in Brivo Access.